This is Red Hot Reds Live. Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Strauss.
Welcome to the Red Hot Reds podcast. It is Sunday, 8 p.m., and we are live. I'm Roger. That is not Ricky, but we have got a guy that has been a special guest that I think he has earned the promotion of co-host. You've been on the show more this week than I have and Ricky have. So I think technically you've been on the show. It's kind of your show this past 3 appearances, if I'm not mistaken. But that's Mike Ballantyne of 643 and Out pod, the Sports Truth, We Like Sports PC.com. Mike, thanks for being here. Thanks for Rick. He's working behind the scenes. He's the technical wizard, but he's a little bit under weather. He's got ear infection, so we hope that he gets back better than ever in the next couple days. So, Mike, the Reds, they unfortunately swept your Diamondbacks, or I guess your Reds swept your Diamondbacks.
Yeah, that's the way it kind of goes. You're right.
And basically, the Reds capped off a 4-2 week after kind of starting a little slow against the hated Brew Crew. But before we get into that, how has your week been?
Man, my week's been pretty good. I mean, shoot, I've been able to be on the Red Hot Reds podcast like 3 times this week. So my week is great, buddy. Yeah,
we really appreciate you stepping in, especially, I was on vacation, so we had some good family time down in the Smoky Mountains. Yeah, we didn't see any bears. We saw a bunch of, sights and stuff like that. I like to call Gatlinburg the kids' Las Vegas because of all the flashing lights and all the things and attractions and whatnot that are geared to, spend your dollars on your kids. So, but it was a good trip overall. I'm back and refreshed. Unfortunately, now Ricky's the one that's on the injured list, so to speak, and hopefully he'll be back.
Yeah, Wednesday. You guys are kind of like the Reds. You're just taking turns with players going to the IL, right?
Yeah. He's having his Hunter Green IL stint right now. Hopefully, my Nick Lodolo or my bereavement leave. Or whatever.
You had your Austin Hayes IL list. Now you're back, so there you go.
Yeah, for sure. And the Reds are definitely they're on an upswing because of a guy who did come back from the IL, a guy that we are going to profile here that has had a tremendous just a series, right? Because he got called up Friday, I think because of I forget who got sent out. DFA from Austin Wins. Actually, that's why. And we're going to talk about Austin Wins later in the show. But CE yes, please. And he had a tremendous series. What did you think of his series, and what did you think of his impact on the Reds these last 3 games?
Well, I don't know who has been saying it over and over and over again, but somebody that keeps guest appearing on this show keeps saying that they just need a big bopper. They need somebody to hit 4th in the lineup, and it's going to stretch everything out. And I think for the last 3 days, we have seen it's not just the guy that hits 4. It's the guy that hits 4 who can make the other guy hit 5 and who can protect Ellie at 3. And, I don't know if you have his numbers. I've got his numbers. I don't want to steal your show. I'm the guest. This is your show, buddy. But if you don't have it, I'll give you his numbers for the 3 days. He's had fantastic numbers, and I'll just leave it at that for the moment. See what you want to do.
Yeah, actually, speaking of first baseman, I actually forgot my own bit. We have a scoreboard stumper about first baseman, but yes, we'll get more and more into CES. Had a tremendous week. You can throw out those numbers in a second, but this scoreboard stumper that we have here is specifically about first baseman. And as I get it up, there have been 4 first basemen hit 300 home runs and collected 200 or 2,000 or more hits while playing for the same team their entire career. Who are they, Mike?
Ooh. So this is not a Reds one. This is baseball overall, right?
Yep.
4 first basemen.
Of all time, too. Like from not necessarily a dead ball era. I'm sure there's no guys that did it then, but.
Okay. Let me think here. So I'm going to go with a recent guy. I think Vladimir Guerrero has enough time to do it. How about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with the Blue Jays?
No, I don't think he's got the 2,000 hits yet. He probably has the 300 home runs. Hits are not many guys are hitting 200 hits a season anymore. You know what I mean? You need 10 seasons to do that. And most guys are under 200. But no, I'd say all these guys are not active. All these guys are retired. There is one Red that I thought was Ricky got at least the 1 out of the 4 when I asked him this question.
Okay, so I mean the one Red, it has to be Joey Votto.
It is Joseph Daniel Votto. Yep, that is the one.
So, wow, first baseman. Gosh, now I got to think here. I should just cheat and look on the other computer, but I won't. Let's see. First,
This guy just had
what about Mauer? Just got put in the Hall of Fame.
No, he played catcher, so I don't know if he qualifies for that.
Right.
But there is a guy who just had a holiday named after him at the beginning of June, just kind of a recent holiday, but a guy that's been celebrated by baseball, by everyone in baseball, because he's kind of one of those, everyone kind of likes him. He's an old timer, though.
All right. How about Todd Helton? He played first base for the Rockies, right?
Yes, correct. That is one. That was one. That wasn't the hint I was giving you, but this guy.
I know. I'm going through teams right at the moment. I started out west because I'm here in the west. So.
Yep. Yes, Todd Helton, the Rockies. That's good.
Yeah,
and
think of a Dodger that would have done it. See, I'm just doing this in my head, so I'm going Dodgers. How about Albert Pujols?
No, surprisingly, somehow he played for the Angels for a long time. So this guy's got to be a career guy with the same team. So that's kind of the caveat.
Yeah.
So
this is terrible radio.
It's hard. I'll give you some hints to get you going.
You're like, no, stupid.
An Astro, Houston Astro. Guy had a unique batting stance.
Oh, Bagwell.
Yep, Jeff Bagwell.
Man, I should have got that.
Yeah, had that weird squatting. Not sure how he
looked like he was taking a dump every time he got to the plate. I don't know how he did it, but
he said it was just saying a squat. It looked like a good power squat. But anyway,
there you go.
And this guy's the old timer. This is an all-time great. A guy that unfortunately his life was cut short because of a disease, but has a holiday.
It's got to be Lou Gehrig, right?
Yep. It is Lou Gehrig. He is the other guy that played all his career with the Yankees and had 300 and 2,000. So, yep, there you go. All four. I want to get your juices flowing. I know it's a little bit tougher. I know Ricky got 1 out of 4, so you did much better than Ricky did, I'll say.
Well, I'm not sure if that's much of a compliment, but okay. I still love you, Ricky.
And now we'll go back to our first baseman. Well, actually, he plays third too, and probably he'll play the outfield a little bit too if we're going to put guys all over. But a guy that probably should be our first baseman, based on how he did this weekend, based on the fact that, as Mike pointed out, he is the big bopper that should be in that number 4 spot. So Austin Hayes can be 5th or whomever, Benson or Reese Hines if he ever gets called up again type of situation. But CES, Mike, if you want to go through the numbers,
sure.
He had a tremendous, just 3 games.
Yes. So in his 3 games, Roger, thank you for that nice setup there. He is 7 for 13 this weekend in his 3 games. 6 RBIs, 1 walk, which is actually really important for him. 1 walk and 3 home runs. And he didn't just hit all 3 of them in that blowout game in the middle. He actually hit 1 each game. So he contributed in each and every game this week. I don't want to get too hyped up on him here because it's only been 3 games, but what a 3-game series he just had. And it was I think he was the guy who enabled the Reds to really come through and do this sweep of the Diamondbacks, even though I'm a little sad that you guys swept my Diamondbacks. I've had this discussion with numerous people. I'll have it with you for a second. Do you think you can root for 2 different teams? Because I do. I root for both of these teams, for the Diamondbacks and for the Reds. I was brought up in a small town called Hillsboro, right outside of Cincinnati. So they're never going to leave my heart. But now I've lived here in Arizona for like 14 years. So I'm torn, and I still root for both teams. Do you think you can root for 2 teams at once?
Yeah, for sure. Usually that I think this is like a football question, or even baseball as well, a kind of question where you have that. Usually you have like an AL team and an NL team, or AFC team and an NFC team, kind of so like if, like for example, my Bears, my hated Bears, they'll be out of the playoff race by week 5. So then you kind of latch on to maybe another AFC team that isn't in your conference or whatnot. But I think being out in the West Coast, being a couple of time zones away, you kind of, it's almost like a different league you guys play out there out west. Well, we're here in the Eastern time zone playing at 7 o'clock and going to bed at 10, and you guys are just starting your games. So I think it's acceptable because. You know what? Baseball, there's only one winner, so you might as well double your chances of getting the team that might win. Yeah, I see no problem with it. I know there's probably baseball purists or sports purists that will probably criticize that type of thing, but I don't know. There's a lot of people that also just root for certain players, right? Like they just don't go to a team. So you see that in the NBA, obviously a lot, but baseball as well. I mean, Eugenio Suarez, I think, is one of those guys that Red fans still look with a little tear in our eyes, but like a wistful, like, oh, please come back. Maybe one day we'll reunite because. Gosh, what is he? 18 home runs? I think like the whole lineup for the Reds had 18 home runs, especially if Ellie's not in it,
Right.
So there's that. But yeah, but CES, this reminds me, if I have to say, it reminds me a bit of the Benson Cleveland Guardians series where he gets called up, just earlier in the week, and basically wins the series, sweeps the Guardians, and basically kind of is that inspiration is kind of what I've been saying. Like the Reds have been kind of like dying for this offensive inspiration. Austin Hayes has provided them in stretches. Benson did it for a week. CES did it for, these 3 games. Is that sustainable? Like to just kind of like, hey, one guy just go out there, get a bunch of hits, maybe a bunch of home runs, knock in a bunch of guys. Is that sustainable for this Redlegs team?
Well, it's not sustainable, and that's why I'm not getting really, really excited about it. I mean, it was a great weekend series, and Reds fans should revel in those 3 games that you guys just won. But it's not sustainable, and I still think you need another guy, or you need Austin Hayes to come back and never go on the IL again. And by the way it's looking from last year and this year, that's probably not going to happen. So then you need another guy. We'll talk about it a little bit more, and maybe this is your segue into our next topic here. But there are 3. Well, now there's only 2 because one of them is gone. But there were 3 people that Ricky and I talked about on the last show where you were on your vacation mode with your little children and all that. Which I'm glad you had a great time and everything else. You ever been to Vegas, by the way?
I have. Yeah, the wife and I went 10 years ago, and we lost about $5, and that was about it. We didn't want to risk any more than that. Just little.
Oh well, then you're never gonna. You have to have money to make money, sir. Yeah. And that's why you and I don't have some big thriving business because we don't have any money to start one with. So, but just because you hadn't made the mention earlier that it was the little kids Vegas, where you guys went. So I was just curious. So I'm only about 4 hours away from Vegas where I'm at. So I go up there a lot. But the problem with Vegas is it smells like urine and drugs. So I don't really like it too much. I'm going to try to go to Laughlin, I think, just a little plug for them and see if there's anything better up there. But anyway, so I still think they need a big guy, but I also think this also proved that if you put the right guy in this lineup, everybody else just suddenly gets better. Mm-hmm. Even Matt McClain got better, and he was batting at the bottom of the lineup. Jose Trevino was a lot better this weekend. He got other pitches that he could see and he could hit. So it makes one guy can make everything better, but it's not sustainable because one of those guys is probably going to get injured again before the end of the season. So you need a guy, and then you need a guy that can come in there and take the place of that guy. And right now they don't have that.
Yeah, for sure, because there is probably going to be a cooling off period for CES, and hopefully at that point that's when Austin Hayes. There was some good news. Austin Hayes is progressing in his rehab and whatnot. I'm not sure if he's has a rehab assignment as of yet. Maybe that's coming this week. But yeah, he's definitely going to cool off, and there's going to be a situation where the offense might go back to a situation where they're not hitting it again. And that's kind of like why I asked, is it sustainable? Because this weekend or this week, obviously including the Brewers series where they just can't seem to get over the hump against the Brewers. Get this, Mike. In runners with scoring position, the Reds batted 4 for 37 this week. With runners in scoring position. It's not, like with guys in first and 2 outs and whatnot and leaving runners on and whatnot. This guy's in scoring position. And that, to me, like, that's why the CES is obviously the block A of this show today, is because he is the one that has had the goods, at least just these last 3 games, to get these last 3 wins. If there was no CES, my goodness, this would have been maybe a sweep for the other side, maybe, or maybe a 2 out of 3 for the Diamondbacks, possibly, because today and Friday were close. Saturday, maybe that obviously Lux went off and all that. But anyway, the point being is that I don't think it's sustainable to just say, hey, CES, go get us the extra base hits, Go inspire the lineup by being that big bopper, so the guys behind you end up seeing better pitches, and they get their chance to hit those fastballs. And obviously Trevino and Matt McLain did their job. But if we're gonna try to manufacture runs against, say, like a Brewers team, a Guardians team, who is usually decent and fundamentally sound defensively and pitching, I don't know. We might go back to a week where we're just, oh my goodness, are we going to score a run this game? Or are we going to have enough? I guess is my feeling, because this week we did not manufacture runs, and that to me is kind of like the underlying indicator of we need to get better there, and then we can start really feeling confident about this team.
Right. I agree with you. And buddy, I don't know if you can see the comments or not, but you got a bunch of comments over here where people are chiming in here and telling us how great they think all this is. So, put them up there for all those people to see too. But hey, yeah, I mean, boy, there's a lot of people who feel the same way that we do. But you're 100% right. It is not sustainable. That's a fantastic shot of Ricky in the hat, by the way. It reminds me, I don't know if you guys are WWE people or not, but it reminds me of Kurt Angle when he did the little skit with the guitar and the little ukulele with Stone Cold. And anyway, you can look that up there. Google that sometime in the near future, and you'll laugh and think of Ricky the entire time. So, in fact, I might put that up there and tag you guys in it. So, I can't wait to do that. Now I'm all excited to do that. So yeah, I mean, this is, we got to get Austin Hayes back, first of all. You got to put him with CES, but that's going to make Stevenson better. I mean, think about this. If you put CES at 4, well, let's do Ellie at 3. And if you can get Matt McLain to start hitting again, which I know we'll talk about Matty Ice here in a few minutes, but if you can get Matt McLain to start hitting at 2, and you go Friedel 1, Matt McLain 2, Ellie De La Cruz 3, CES smashing the ball over the fence at 4, Austin Hayes giving you good at bats at 5, put Tyler Stevenson at 6, DH him, put him at 6 in the majority of the time. Then you put Trevino at 7, and then, man, just throw whoever you want out there. Benson at 8 or whatever. Reese Hines at 8, maybe. I know we'll talk about Reese in here in a little bit too. And we're forgetting about Spencer Steer, who should be in there somewhere. Yeah. And we're going to talk about Spencer Steer, or at least I will talk about Spencer Steer here in a moment too. So, the lineup that you potentially have here is so much different than the lineup without CES. Just putting that one guy in there and spreading that stuff out. And then the other key part here is getting Matt McLain to hit again. And if we can get both of those things put together, this team honestly can go on a tear. And again, I know something else we'll talk about, but we'll keep the fans interested until the end of this show. But just wait until we tell you who they're going to play in the next few weeks. They're going to need to lengthen out this lineup, and they're going to need to start hitting.
Yeah, I'm coming around to your whole thesis of this season, that they're one big bat away. I'm starting really kind of to warm up to that idea, because obviously of the results of CES this weekend has kind of shown that, that could really kind of change that dynamic. You're not having to depend on putting Tyler Stevenson in the 3-hole, and you don't have to have basically Spencer Steer hit the 4-hole, the 5-hole. You're putting them further down the lineup, which means they're probably going to see the better pitches, or they're going to be getting through the lineup, and seeing the bats ahead of them, and what the starter is working with, what's the pitches he's been, mixing up, and what's he's hitting, his spots and whatnot. So and those guys that obviously we mentioned, like Hayes, you put him back in, and he's going to be the 5th hitter. That makes it, like you said, the lineup just a little bit longer, a little bit more difficult to get through, as opposed to if you get a situation where I know, Santiago Espinal is Tito's favorite, but he's not striking fear into a lot of pitchers, minds and hearts. So
I like him a lot too, but he's not performing as well as he has in the past.
Well, that's the thing. When we talked about Espinal in this lineup before the season with Ricky and I, we were like, he has to hit 300 at bats or less. He can't be our everyday guy. If he's an everyday guy, there's something wrong. There's injuries, or there's a need where he has to be the guy. And that has kind of been the last kind of month or so. Obviously, he's been serviceable. He's a great glove in the infield wherever you put him, but you don't want to depend on him. These are the kind of guys you don't want to depend on. You want to depend on a CES if he is what they say he is, right? You want to see a 2023 All-Star Austin Hayes come back to that form. you want to see a potential guy that we may buy or sell. Which transition we're going to be talking about at this stage. The Reds are 33-33, 500 straight up. Like opening day, the same amount of wins as losses as they started with the season. But I think I know your answer, and I'll let you go and say, are the Reds really buyers at this deadline, or is it going to be same old, where they fall off in the last couple months and they might end up being sellers and big contracts like Nick Martinez, like they got rid of Alexis Diaz, $4 million, like you get rid of 21 million or whatever the prorated amount would be at that point. Like they got rid of Frankie Montas last year. It seems like a Castellini type of move, but that's just my cynicism talking. But what do you think? Do you think the Reds are buyers or sellers at this point in the season?
You know my answer to this already. I mean, we are. What I'm doing right at the moment is I'll fix this. But I'm going live, and I kept looking at my own feed, going, "Wait a minute, I'm not live on my own feed." Well, I clicked the wrong button, so that's what the bad thing is. So I'm going to fix that here as I talk to you. Man, I can't do two things at once. My wife is right.
Yeah, well, Ricky's complimenting my segue to buy or sell. I gotta say, if you're gonna sort yourself out, I think the Reds are going to be buyers at this point. Obviously, we're coming off a sweep. We're coming off a 4-2 week. Maybe that's just the 4-2 week coming off of me. You know what I mean? Like, oh well, now we're going to be. Obviously, we're still fourth in the division. That's kind of the crazy thing, is that we have still lots of ways to go. The Cardinals haven't dropped off. The Brewers were on that 8-game winning streak. I think they finally lost against San Diego this weekend. So they're still hot, though, and playing solid baseball. I mean, obviously, they took 3 out of from us, and they're probably going to still be that same Brewers pesky team that's going to be sticking around until it gets maybe to the last month or weeks of the season. But I don't know. Right now, I think they're definitely buyers, and hopefully big buyers. That's the thing. When I say buyers, they were buyers in 2023, technically, right? Right. They traded for Sam Moll. That was the big deal, right? So
who's in Louisville right now?
Yeah, he might not be a Red. Well, never say never, but his time being a Red might be coming closer to an end than any extension talks or anything like that. If I'm kind of reading the tea leaves and saying all the thing or seeing all the things I've seen about Sam Moll and his struggles, but that's for another topic. I think definitely I'm warming personally to the idea of getting another bat, a Brett Rooker type, a Taylor Ward type. I forget the other names. I think you said Chris Taylor as well and some other guys. But yeah, I say why not? I mean, you never know. This is definitely a season that the Cubs seem to be the front runners, and they seem to be kind of, not necessarily running away with the division, but the West is pretty strong still. But we just took 3 in a row from your D-backs. So, and we matched up decently with the Giants. They obviously are a pretty solid team as well. But I don't know. They could sneak in the playoffs if they play their cards right and get the right pieces. But I don't know. I guess my cynicism thinks that the Reds might just sell or do a partial buy, like just a little piece. You know what I mean? What do you think, Mike?
Well, I'm gonna suggest something completely different that I honestly didn't think of until this weekend. I don't know if I agree with that, Ricky. I get it. Martinez is in the last year of his contract, and I don't know if we can negotiate a contract with Lodolo. Now, I will say that on this trade Martinez and Lodolo thing, I would do it on one condition. If during the All-Star break, because that usually players don't like to talk about contracts when they're playing, which I've never understood why. It really doesn't involve them. It's between the front office of the club and their agent. But if we can sign Andrew Abbott to a long-term deal, kind of like a Hunter Green type deal, then yes. If I can get him, and I know what his cost is going to be for the next, let's say 5 to 6 to, maybe do a 6-year contract with a 7-year option, or a 5-year with a 6-year option, something like that. Okay, now I can trade Martinez and Lodolo because I'm not sure if we could do that with Lodolo. I think he's one of these people who is going to go after the money, and that's nothing that I'm hearing. I don't have any inside sources. Don't let me think that to you. It's man, I've been around this team, especially during spring training, for quite a number of years, and I've seen how Nick Lodolo acts, and we'll just leave it at that. And he seems to be the guy to me who's just going to go after the money, and he's got the agent in order to do so as well. So. I get all that. Let me give you a new name.
Okay.
Man, I would love to see this happen. I've been thinking about it for the last 24 hours or so, ever since he did what he did on Saturday. Well, wait a minute. Was it Saturday? Yeah, Saturday he did it. He hit his 100th home run, and then he hit his 101st home run, both of them at Great American Ballpark. And I watched the crowd go absolutely crazy over him. Yeah. Bring back Eugenio Suarez.
Mm-hmm.
Put him at third base. He's a great defender. We all know this. He's just a hot and cold guy. So if you could match Tyler Stevenson and help me here, I just lost the Trevino, the backup catcher, right? And you can go with the hot hand there. Then why can't you go with the hot hand if you put Espinal and Suarez at third base and go with that hot hand there? I love that. You can get rid of Garrett Hampson, whom we don't even need. You can get rid of Connor Joe, who we don't need on this team. And you go out, and so that's what I think. You should make at least two moves. The starting rotation here is pretty good. The bullpen has really come alive here for the Cincinnati Reds. And you need another big bat. Suarez can give you that big bat. So I want Suarez and I want Rooker. And if you give me those two guys on the Cincinnati Reds, I am as happy as pig in slop.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, like we talked about, just start a show, the wistful eye of looking at Eugenio Suarez out there, like, oh man, it's obviously it's a business, so they definitely traded him and got some decent return back from him. I think it was the Williamson trade and whatnot. So, so I don't know. I think it's possible if you think the D-backs are then sellers. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, they just lost Corbin Carroll, right? We watched. Corbin Burns, right? I'm sorry, sir.
Corbin Burns. They still got Carroll, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I did say, I got the wrong Corbin. You're right. Okay. So they lost Corbin Burns for the year. He's going to, and probably most of next year too, because of when in this season it happened to him. He's having surgery next week, which will be Tommy John surgery. They're falling off fast. They've lost 12 of their last 17. And here's the other part that you have to look at as far as them in their division and the Reds in their division. The Reds have to deal with the Cubs. Honestly, I don't see the Cardinals as much of a threat because that team's not real great if you look at them on paper. Same thing with the Brewers. But the Reds have to be able to beat them because the Reds just have not seemed to be able to beat them for some reason. We've got to get better as far as the Reds go, and the Reds have to be able to beat those teams in front of them. I honestly think they can do it if they get a bat or two more. They will surpass those two teams. Now, whether they'll surpass the Cubs or not, it's another story. Because the Cubs are a really good team this year. I don't like to give them credit, but I almost have to. They're a really good team. So I think you can make the wild card with it anyway, because right now the clubs in front of them are the Cardinals and the Cubs and the Brewers and the Giants. We've already beat the Giants. We just beat the Diamondbacks. If they happen to kind of sneak around in there, you're going to play the Padres here in just a week or two. So you have to beat them as well. They're coming to Great American Ballpark in a couple of weeks. So that's something that I think we can do. And even if, let me give you another option. If you don't want Rooker in his 3-year contract, man, just go out and get Martinez, would you please? He's out there on the open market. I'm sure his price has dropped by this point. Go get JD Martinez and give him $5 or $6 million and say, come on, we'll put you in Louisville for 3-4 weeks, and then we'll bring you up after the All-Star break. And it's just like making a deadline trade.
Yeah, we talked about that, I think, on previous shows, and that one seems possible because the Reds won't have to give up any prospects or any different, assets and whatnot. The one that I just thought of that you talked about as well that was warming on me is the guy from the Dodgers, James Outman. I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, we're looking at his numbers and looking at how he's kind of the odd man out in Los Angeles with team control for, I think, a couple of years at least. That seems like a very Reds type trade. But the problem is that it seems like the Reds, with their last couple trades with the Dodgers, Gavin Lux, Alexis Diaz, it seems like the Dodgers know how to not necessarily bamboozle the Reds, but I think they know that they have the upper hand and can kind of, because that Mike Sirota just made the top 100 prospects. The guy they got, or the guy the Dodgers got for Gavin Lux, and so that looks like a guy that obviously you would like to have him in the Reds organization, but you got Gavin Lux now who's producing at this level.
Right.
But it seems like I don't think the Dodgers will easily give up James Outman is what I'm trying to say. It might take a lot to possibly get him from the Dodgers because the Dodgers obviously have that, they have the cash and they have the different, winning mentality. They'll just have the upper hand in the trade anyway against a smaller market like Cincinnati. But if the Reds can swing some sort of trade for James Outman, wouldn't mind having him. I think he's left-handed bat as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like the team control as well. So it's not like that the Reds would have to pay a lot of money. That's the kind of thing I think with Suarez that might hold back the Reds from getting him, unless the Diamondbacks eat a lot of his salary or a big portion of his salary. I don't know if the Reds are going to go all in for a guy that's 34, 35 years old now. Like he's getting up there.
He's older, right? Poor
yeah.
guy. And he is in the final year of his contract, so the Diamondbacks are going to want to get something out of him. So I think that if you give them a double-A prospect like I saw Ricky put up earlier, Austin
Hendrick.
Austin Hedrick. Yeah, I mean, would they be able to take a double-A prospect who has a chance to maybe come up and you trade him for Eugenio Suarez? Now you're not giving up a lot, but you are going to have to pay some money. Would the Reds be willing to do that? That's kind of the question there, because I think that's how it's going to have to work. Is you're going to have to give up at least a decent prospect in order to get him. And you may have to give up one of those pitchers. And you're talking about Outman from L.A. What about this? I think the Dodgers, with their pitching woes, would take Nick Martinez in a heartbeat if you would trade Nick Martinez for Outman straight up, because they have so many people in their minor league system. They're going to look at it and say, well, we can win now with Martinez, and who knows what Outman's going to do. So I think they'd be willing to do something like that.
Yeah, for sure. That's a win-win for the Reds as well, getting salary off the books. Yeah, this is a pro Austin Hendrick show, so we're definitely. And I think, though, the Dodgers or the Diamondbacks would probably ask more for like a Sal Stewart or Hector Rodriguez probably before Hendrick.
Yeah. Then I agree with Ricky. Those guys are untouchable.
Yeah, but I think the Dbacks would ask. They would make the ask because they would want to get as best as they can for Suarez. Obviously, also dumping his salary as much as they can. But yeah, it's a win-win. I think in that Martinez-Outman trade, that sounds pretty good, especially because we have, I know that Krall doesn't think so, but Burns is on the way one way or another. At least he'll be up in September for just a September call-up. But it would be interesting if they could swing something like that. I would be all for that. The Dodgers, obviously, you're right. They just got Gonsolin on the IL. I don't even know if they have any recognizable starters anymore that really start and go 5 innings at least for their I guess they got with the Cy Young guy. What's his name?
Snell's on the IL. If that's who you're thinking. Yeah, so, he's on the IL right now. So I mean, they're really running out of arms, and they'll never run out of money. So now let me ask you this, Ricky. What if I'm going to do James Outman for Nick Lodolo?
You have to see. That's a good question. I think I personally wouldn't mind that. I think I wouldn't have any. Yeah, I wouldn't have any. It doesn't look like that the extension talks are happening for Lodolo. They look like they're gonna, string it out with arbitration and whatnot. Would probably just kind of like what they're gonna do with Ellie as well. So if he's a guy, I mean, he's just got a lot of team control, right? He has at least 3 years. So I don't know. I think they would like to keep Lodolo probably another year, unless something happens where he's injury riddled or struggling or whatnot. But that also hurts his trade value. So I think in an ideal world, probably that'd be a good deal for me. But like for the Reds, I don't know if they want to give up Lodolo with all that team control. a guy that has the potential to be that second ace that Ricky's always talking about behind Hunter. And with Hunter kind of being on the ILL and not coming back anytime soon, I don't think they're really wanting to trade Lodolo at this stage. So,
but you've got to. I mean, you were talking about Sirota, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's all of a sudden the 18th guy in their system. I'm looking at the Dodgers system right now. I tell you, the guy that I'd also look at, and I saw him in the Arizona Fall League. You may not know anything about him because I don't know how much you guys really pay attention to the minor leagues. But there's a guy named Zaire Hope in the Dodgers system.
Really?
Yes, give me Zaire Hope in a heartbeat. I'd trade Martinez and Lodolo for Zaire Hope.
Really?
And he's just an A guy. Yeah. I saw him play this season, and I tell you what, he's a great guy. I saw him interact with fans. I saw him smack a home run and turn around and do some crazy stuff to the dugout and all that. Those are all things that I really like to see. The Dodgers have promoted their number 9 prospect, River Ryan, whom I've never heard of in my life. And he's 26 years old and just got promoted. So they're getting desperate. And I think that if we would dangle some of our guys out there, we could maybe pick the bones of their farm system and be able to strengthen us for years to come.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. I like being on the better end of the deal of Dodgers trades. If I can take that, especially with the last 2 that we've had with them, it seems. But that's a good question. I don't know. It seems like we're doing a lot of trades with the Dodgers. I don't know if there's some sort of they used to be hated rivals because they used to be NL West, competitors. So now we're all buddy dealing guys back and forth. But anyway, as Ricky said. It'd be hard to get rid of Austin Hendrick because this is a pro Austin show. And transition, we did lose one of our most favorite Austins that we knew this day was kind of coming. We had the 3 catchers.
Did you just say one of your most favorite Austins?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
you guys like Austin wins?
Yeah. Did you not see him on Easter? He was awesome.
Oh, the one day? That's why I'm not getting real excited over CES for 3 days, sir. But go ahead, continue.
Hey, backup catchers have a special place in my heart, to be honest with you. And he was the backup to the backup. Like, this guy should have been at AAA, but Stevenson got hurt at the beginning of the year. So then he had to step up to the plate, and that he did. I mean, I think he batted 400 for us in the limited, time, and really limited this month. So it's kind of – go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, okay, I mean, he served his purpose, but his purpose is done now. Yeah. You've got Stevenson and you've got Trevino now. I don't know why they carried 3 catchers for the longest time as it was. Now, I will put it in there and say that there was a spot in, I believe, the second part of the second game that the Reds and the Diamondbacks played, where if they would have had another catcher, they probably would have pinch hit for Herrera at that point. And maybe you look at that and be like, well, shoot, the Diamondbacks only carried 2. One of them got hurt. And now they've got to go with this other catcher the entire time. So, I mean, I guess I understand it, but yeah. And it was a crazy thing because I don't know how much you guys know about the rules of everything, but they couldn't have brought up, even if they'd had another catcher that they were willing to bring up from AAA or AA, they couldn't have done it for the end of that game. They would have actually had to wait until the 3rd game to activate him because you can't bring up a guy in the middle of a game like that. So there were some weird things. I was listening to the Diamondbacks broadcast, of course, because I live here, so I like to listen to them and how they were talking about the Reds, and we may get into that a little bit here in a little bit, but they were saying how crazy things seem to be every time that the Reds and the Diamondbacks get together. And they had a bunch of instances over the years. And it was just kind of funny how baseball is just that funny sport when certain teams get together. Yeah,
I can see that. And the Austin wins thing, in full transparency, kind of started off as a bit of a tongue-in-cheek joke. Wins equals wins. It was always what we were putting out there on X, Twitter, whatever you call it. And the reason why I was kind of tongue-in-cheek is because actually his first 5 starts with the Reds, they went 0-5. And then game 6, well, that's when it all turned around. And then they started winning games when Wins was in the game. And then obviously it kind of the ultimate, climax of the Austin Wins experience was that Easter that we put 24 runs on somehow a really sad-looking Baltimore Orioles team. But Yeah, that's neither here nor there. But what I'm trying to say is that it's a backup catcher. His expectations are super low, especially because I think I pointed out the stat. I don't know if I still have the stat, but Luke Maley was the backup catcher last year, and on days that he started, the Reds were like 14 and 36. So like, if we can get anybody that could give us a better chance of winning than that winning percentage, we'll take it. Like I'll shout out to Luke Maley. For his service, Covington kid, Northern Kentucky kid, but 14 and 36 isn't getting the job done.
Right. He's not even in baseball right now. He was cut by the Royals before the season even started.
Yeah. But on the opposite, we did get something for Austin Wynns. We traded him to Oakland or Sacramento or whatever they call themselves, the Athletics.
The A's.
Yeah, the A's, whatever, and for cash considerations, and that's like the ultimate Castellini type of trade, is getting some cash to put back into his pocket and save it for later, I guess, because I don't know if it necessarily he's going to use that at the trade deadline or to get JD Martinez. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe he'll just try to, maybe a couple more fireworks explosions on Fridays. Maybe that's where the cash considerations are going to be funneled to, is I think what some jokes on Twitter were. But yeah. We're obviously a pro Austin show. We just wanted to give Austin Wynns his due. He obviously is not necessarily, Yogi Berra by any stretch, but he definitely he served his time here, and he's got another team, so that's at least good. He'll still be in baseball. Maybe we'll see him in September when they're out there in Sacramento or Oakland or Las Vegas. I don't know. So wherever you guys are in the West Coast,
there you go.
Austin Wynns has a new home, so
I may try to go see them. I wouldn't mind going to that AAA ballpark and trying to see how many home runs they can. Maybe they'll smack more home runs in a AAA ballpark than they can at Great American.
They hit more home runs in Kauffman than they hit at Great American for some reason. So riddle me that. They just have some sort of mental block at home or something. I don't know. But they did have some, big home runs this time with CES and McLean and Trevino. So
and they hit a bunch of home runs and they won 3 games. Imagine that.
Yeah, you think that would be a decent formula for success, but I don't know. But anyway, neither here nor there. Just want to say
Matt McLean, right?
Yeah. So transition. Then we'll go to that.
There you go.
Matt McLean is now finally. I don't know if he's back. I don't know if we can say that he's back. He's kind of, he's been around. He's in the Spencer Steer camp where he can't be assigned or optioned down for some reason. He's just got to work through it, a la Will Benson 2024. But the Will Benson situation 2024 was kind of like they didn't have any other bodies to really bring up to put Benson down. But for some reason, Spencer Steer and Matt McLean have been really working through their issues at the Major League Ball Club. And today, Mr. McLean had the game-winning home run, 2-run shot to win the series, sweep the series, win the game today. So, I don't know. I know there's been lots of whispers of hey, he needs to go down. He needs to work on his stuff. He needs to, figure out whatever if he's pressing, if he's not seeing pitches well, and work it out in AAA. Are you in that camp still, Mike, or is that maybe that's gone right now?
Well, I'm not going to say it's gone. I was just looking it up. He actually does have options. You can send him down to AAA right at the moment. So I wanted to make sure before I open my big mouth. Sometimes I do that, and then it's putting my foot in it instead of anything else. But so yes, you can send him down to the minor leagues right now. But I wouldn't for probably a week. What he did today to he hit the home run to give them the sweep, to give them the win. The crowd went crazy. His teammates all went crazy. If you watched it on television, the dugout went crazy. Everybody's rooting for this kid, including myself, and I'm sure you are too. I love Matt McLean. He is honestly my favorite player on this team, and it's killing me right now to see him. I won't give you I think I gave Ricky the Matt McLean story when I was on the other day, so I won't bore your listeners with it again. But I do. I really like this kid, and I was all for sending him down. I'm still for sending him down because you can't keep carrying him. That's what you're doing right now. He's not really giving this team anything. You're basically carrying him. He is a half a step above Garrett Hampson and Connor Joe, realistically, right now. I don't think he'll be that way for his entire career, but he is right now. And you're trying to win right now, not win 2 years from now. So I would see if this doesn't spark him into something else. But if it doesn't, and if hitting the game-winning home run to give his team a sweep at home doesn't spark his bat, then he needs to go down.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that as well because it's been a long stretch, and he missed all 2024. That shoulder surgery, injury, and what have you that happened in spring training in 2024, and he's looked his old self somewhat, but it just seems like he's not seeing pitches. He's striking out a lot more than he has in past, and obviously he doesn't have a huge sample size or whatnot, basically to go off of. But if he could be kind of getting close to that 2023 form, that above, replacement type player that he was, we'd take it. But I don't know. Like I said, the reason why I put him in the Spencer Steer camp is because Spencer Steer had options too, but they kept rolling him out with his 180 batting average and striking out a lot and having that shoulder issue that he basically just worked through for a year basically, because it happened I think in June 2024 they revealed. It's like I get it. You want to have faith in these guys and you don't want to crush their confidence, but they have no problem crushing Will Benson's confidence if he strikes out 3 times. They're like, see you in AAA. We'll talk to you in a week. I just don't get it. Maybe these guys are untouchable in the front office's eyes. Steer and McLean, I say, because CES isn't above it either. CES, when he struggled in 2024 and 2023, there would be times that he'd be, sent down to AAA, and obviously he had that injury as well in 2024. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a stretch that CES is struggling. They might put him down into the minors for a stretch just to get his confidence up. Because when he was at Louisville, before this stretch, he was crushing it. Same thing with Benson and Hines. They crush it at AAA. Now, is it a big step from AAA to the majors? Yes, obviously. It's definitely a big leap, but there's no sense of ruining Matt McLean's confidence if he's going to continue to struggle for the foreseeable future. I don't know. It's kind of a bit head scratching. I know that they see him as a corner piece, a guy that they want around, but the reports that supposedly happened in spring training that he was going to get an extension, I guess were all fake news because there wasn't anything there supposedly, and I think McLean kind of confirmed that in the interview or whatnot. But it's kind of just strange that we have a guy that we consider a cornerstone, but I don't know, he can't do anything wrong. There's been a bunch of guys through the years that they're young, they send them down, they bring them back up, and they come back with a bigger fervor. I just don't get it why they don't do that with Spencer Steer or McLean.
Well, let me ask you this. So if this continues to work with CES, he went down for about a month or so to AAA, got himself right, hit a bunch of home runs, and then they brought him back. If that formula seems to work for CES, do you think this will change the Reds front office and maybe they'll do that with McLean just because they see it work with someone else?
Yeah, I can't see it not working for at least just a stretch. I know sometimes it's a timing thing in terms of when CES is ready to go, basically see you later, Austin wins, which, like we kind of talked in other shows, that was bound to happen. But when Fraley was ready to come back, boom, there was a timing where I think someone else got hurt or got demoted, and he's back in the major league club.
Hayes, I think Hayes went down, and then he and Fraley came up.
So there's a timing aspect to it. So unfortunately, I guess don't want to necessarily have this come true, but another guy in AAA that is in a rehab assignment, Mr. Jamer Candelario, maybe. He doesn't play second, obviously, but I guess that's why they got Hampson or Espinal. But Jamer Candelario is going to possibly cause an issue where, if Mr. McLean kind of struggles this first 3 games in the Guardians, and Jamer Candelario is ready to get called up on Thursday and that off day, there may be a situation where he might be sent down, and Jamer is the one that's called up because they got to probably. I think Ricky says they have 30 days when guys go on rehab assignments to get back up to the major league level. Otherwise, they have to make some sort of roster decision. So It's going to be sooner or later. Jamer Candelario is going to be ready. Is McLean going to be hitting well enough, I guess, is the question, to earn his spot?
It is interesting. Maybe, I will I want to segue into our next thing with this if I could. So, I mean, so we're going to go into the Red Hot Red of the Week. Mine might be a surprise to everybody, but Spencer Steer is my Red Hot Red of the Week. Did you see the diving plays he made? He made 2 diving plays against poor Josh Naylor in the second game. So he's diving now. I never saw him dive until this weekend. I think he was scared to dive because of that shoulder injury. Now, all of a sudden, I think this is another proponent of CES coming back. Steer sees CES over there and says, man, this guy's going to take my spot if I don't play a better first base, if I don't hit better. And then they put him at third base for a little bit, and they put him at first base for a little bit. They haven't put him in the outfield yet, but it's only been 3 games, guys. You know, pump the brakes, right? So did that make Spencer Steer look across that dugout and go, man, CES is back. I got to play better. I got to dive now. I got to be a better defensive first baseman. And, man, I will give Spencer Steer all the credit in the world. I don't think we do it enough. Last year, that man is not an outfielder, and he played left field above average. I won't say he was an excellent left fielder, but he played left field above average all year last year and did it pretty well. Then he got put over at first base now. It's like, okay, buddy, you're going to go to first base, and you're going to play over there, but we still want you to hit. And his natural position is actually second base. So if they do that with Matt McLain, they send him down, they bring Encarnacion up. I'm sorry, not Encarnacion. They bring Candelario up, and you've got Encarnacion as well. Maybe they finally shift Steer. Remember last week I was talking to you guys about this. Send Matt McLain down, move Steer over to second base. Maybe that's what they're planning on doing. But in any route, Spencer Steer had 2 big, really good defensive plays, and I know it was a blowout. You know, you probably didn't even see it when it was all happening, but he did an excellent job defensively at first base over the weekend, and then he got some really timely hits for us as well. So I think Spencer Steer is getting more and more comfortable with that shoulder, and I'm going to make him my Red Hot Red of the Week.
Yeah, definitely. To back that up, I think not necessarily CES has kind of pushed him to be better. I think he's actually above replacement first baseman. There were some stats at beginning of June that say outs above average, I think, or he was +6, which was second overall, and to Matt Olson, I think, was first for first baseman. So he's an above average first baseman, which is kind of surprising, and maybe the reason why they've kept him there as opposed to moving around the diamond, put him at second or outfield or wherever, or just playing him strictly as DH. So he seems to be the better defensive first baseman. I think, CES is serviceable, and I think Candelario is probably the worst out of the 3 if we had to go with those 3 in terms of first base. So, it might be Spencer Steer's job to lose at first, and they might, say, Candelario, you might have to come out in DH or play third possibly because Spencer is our guy. They seem to be backing him this whole season, right? They haven't sent him down or demoted at all. So no. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play, second base and he just stays at first. That might be the play. And, obviously our favorite former Diamondback Hampson might be at second when, possibly McLain goes down or Espinal. I guess I'm trying to figure out how Candelario is going to fit into this lineup. He's obviously on a big contract. He's obviously a veteran of 10 years and he's a switch hitter. I don't know. He's going to have to earn it. I think we talked about this before when he was struggling before his injury. He shouldn't just get an automatic walk into the lineup type of situation. No. Being a switch hitter, he might be good off the bench at times because he can come in and hit from both sides. But I don't know. I don't know if the front office really puts a thumb down on Tito. I think he's earned his place in Major League Baseball where he's not influence like that. So I don't think Candelario comes in and walks into the lineup right away. And I think that's for the best because the guys that should be producing should be out there, right? The guys that are producing, should be out there. And I think Spencer Steer has come around. Obviously, it's been a couple months, but he's starting to round into form right into, June. Like I like to say, the best month of the year for the Reds is June. So, but, Nick Martinez, shout out.
Oh, golly, gee, Ricky. Are you the only person in the Nick Martinez fan club around here? Gee, Christmas, buddy.
That and his bank account is pretty nice too. But my Red Hot Red of the week was the obvious one, the easy one, I think, is Mr. CES. Yeah, and Ricky did say to trade him earlier.
Okay.
He's doing that thing to you, Mike, where he says one thing and then says another thing a couple minutes later.
His ears might be in trouble, but both sides of his mouth are working.
So, yeah, my guy CES, those stats you laid out, he was hitting. I think he's like, I mean, just that sample size, if you like project it out, he's going to hit like 120 home runs for the season and the sample size that he has and whatnot.
Right.
You'd love to see that, but I don't think that's going to happen. But, you know, he's definitely served as that inspiration, that offensive inspiration that the Reds desperately need at times. And hopefully he can continue that into the Ohio Cup coming up tomorrow and basically get the Reds that I think they need one win since they swept the Guardians. They just need that one win to win the Ohio Cup, and maybe they'll lose the next two just because that's how Reds do business. But yeah, shout out CES, shout out Nick Martinez, I guess, and shout out to Spencer Steer for Red Hot Red of the Week. Any other comments or thoughts about that, Mike? Any other candidates that you have?
No, I don't really have any other candidates, but I also still just want to. I mean, I know I'm beating this horse really bad here with I've switched from a wooden bat to an aluminum bat. I'm beating this horse so bad, But when you bring CES into this lineup and you stretch it out again, you put Spencer Steer hitting in that, not the bottom, but in the middle. You make him hit 5 or 6. That's where Spencer Steer needs to hit. And if you get a Spencer Steer in the 5 or 6 spot that gets you 25 home runs and 90 RBIs. There isn't a team in baseball that won't take that from the 5 or 6 or for the 5 or 6 hole.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely, I'm glad we're past the days of 2024 where we had Stuart Fairchild hitting the 3-hole. That was a interesting experience to say the least, and that was a pretty long. I think a whole week he hit like in the 3-hole. It felt like, which felt like a month, which felt like years. But that was. Hopefully, we'll never see something like that again. But I don't know. I guess that's kind of comparable to the struggling Ty Stevenson hitting the 3-hole with Ellie out, but I don't know. I guess I'm trying to pump up your argument, get you to go. Like, we need these big boppers, like Great American Small Park, like get guys to hit home runs. It seems like maybe it's too simple logic, but like they do it in the Yankees, right? That short porch, right? They get those guys to hit home runs all the time.
You gave me a scoreboard stumper. Obviously, Ellie is the first in home runs. Do you know who the second person is in my team in home runs?
I believe I don't know if it's been updated. Last time I checked it was Ellie with, I think he still got 12 or 13.
12.
And I think it's Austin Hayes with 6.
Okay, so with his home run today, Matt McClain now has 7.
Oh, really?
If Matt McClain is your number 2 guy on your team in home runs with the struggles that he's been in, don't you think you need another guy who can hit you some home runs? Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, and Benson's kind of been struggling a little bit of late, so we just kind of eliminate kind of those valleys that this team goes through. Some guy that could be, I don't know.
You need to eliminate Garrett Hampson, and you need to eliminate Connor Joe.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. But Connor Joe has great hair, though. So I don't know.
Well, that's about the only thing he's got going for him.
Well, anyway, we're gonna transition now to the Reds Facebook comment of the week, and this one's a doozy, Mike. I don't know if I don't want to give it too much air, but this is, I think, possibly happened today because I was listening to it on the radio, where I think Ellie got picked off at second, where they had a rally kind of going, where they 2-2 ball game, where the Reds do this thing where they think you think they're gonna score, and then all of a sudden they do something boneheaded or they strike out or get into a double play or whatnot. I think it was also, wasn't it Friday? They also had a bases loaded, no outs situation and scored 0 runs.
Yes.
So this Ellie, a.k.a. Rally Killer, distinctly not ready for prime time, dressed like a pro, toothpick indicative of nonchalance. They had a toothpick? I didn't know guys could have toothpicks while they're playing.
Yeah, sometimes he has a toothpick in his mouth, yeah.
Interesting. Indicative of getting picked off. So that's why I think that pick off at second wasn't a great moment, obviously. And he's kind of been a bit underwhelming in stealing bases. I don't know if they've kind of put the red light on him with David Bell, it seemed like there was a green light anytime he wanted. And it was kind of.
He's been fighting a lower leg injury, is what they keep saying, lower leg. I mean, from everyone I've talked to inside the Reds, and I'm I'm not trying to brag here, but I do have a couple contacts inside the Reds, and it's an ankle injury is what he's been battling. So it's on his push-off leg. So it's really hard for him to push off that leg and get himself good speed. Now, what this guy's talking about here, and I'm glad you didn't put his name up here because he doesn't deserve to have his name up here with a comment like this. But first of all, he's a young kid. All right, you got to remember this is Ellie's second season, and it's not even his full season for him in the majors. All right. Yes, he was picked off. He got his secondary lead too early. That's what happened. If you really watch it, he got his secondary lead too early. They were able to yell at a professional guy at shortstop, was able to come over and pick him. Professional pitcher in Zach Gallen on the mound today that just whipped right around and threw a strike. Yes, Ellie should not have done it, but he's just trying to look at Zach Gallen and get that good second lead, and he got off too far. It was as simple as that. Now, it ended up not making a ton of difference because the Reds ended up winning the game. But I do understand the rally killer part. That did kill that rally. 100% it did. He is ready for prime time, or MLB wouldn't have him all over the place. All right, let's just knock that stupid sentence out right now. The whole dress like a pro thing, man, that guy's allowed to dress however he wants. Whatever color he wants to make his little sliding glove thing that he puts on his hand, whatever color he wants to make his shoes, if he wants to wear a shirt underneath his uniform and it all be buttoned clear down to his belly button, I don't care what he looks like as long as he performs on the field. And the whole toothpick thing, come on, man. If this is all you got to, like, your last sentence of an argument is supposed to be like the stamp on the argument, and it's supposed to end the argument. Whoever this is did a terrible job. You've got one piece in here that I'll agree with. He did kill that rally. But other than that, Ellie De La Cruz is the best thing the Cincinnati Reds have going.
Yeah, and baseball needs more personality, in my opinion. Like, to have guys that are kind of, I don't know, they just talking the same type of, metaphors and sentences, stuff like that, and they're kind of boring and whatnot. It's kind of interesting that a guy that shows some flair, shows some passion for the game, also has like the dedication to the Reds and baseball, where, I mean, I want him to have obviously as much grieving time as he needs for his sister that just passed away recently. Mm-hmm. And, whatever he needs to do to go back to the Dominican and have that time, make that peace with his family and whatnot. Like, I'm all for that. I'm not saying he should drop all that just to play baseball, but he seems to have the personality of like, oh, as soon as I'm feeling like I'm good and ready to go, I feel at peace, I'm getting back on that plane and heading back to the United States. And he could have played even earlier. I think the report was his plane got delayed or rerouted or something, and he ended up only making the suspended game, the 2:00, the 3 innings or 4 innings that they played on Saturday afternoon. So, like, there's nobody that can really criticize Ellie De La Cruz, like, in definitely the arena of, like, he is not dedicated to his team. Like, he's taking plays off. He's not running hard. Like, the guy literally was trying to get on a plane to play on Friday after just taking 1 day off, which was an off day. So he missed 0 baseball games. 0. So, like, just missed me with all this, right. All that stuff. I don't know.
I have to throw shade at the Reds for a second here. So Cincinnati, Castellini's, whoever else has a stock in this team. For God's sake, you can't get that man a private plane. You can't put that guy on a private jet and ship him over to the Dominican Republic, give him his time to grieve with his family. And especially when he says, man, I want to come right back. And then you're putting him on a commercial flight and it gets delayed. And man, put him in your private jet. And don't tell me you don't have one. Put him in your private jet, ship him over there. He goes to the Dominican. He's able to be with his family for the maximum amount of time, like right up to the last second. Then he goes and he jumps on this private plane again, and he's back for the game. I mean, if he is going to show you that kind of dedication that Ellie De La Cruz did, the least thing you could do is put him in your own private jet and put him over there and bring him back. That really irked me about the Cincinnati Reds as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. I think Ricky's chiming in that Magic Johnson, co-owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, probably would have put him on his PJ for sure.
Well, I'm sure he would have. And would have been happy to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Probably would have rode over with him and back.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. It's interesting stuff, but we're glad that Ellie loves baseball, loves playing for the Cincinnati Reds this much. Can't I can't say enough about that aspect of it, because like everyone that will obviously come out in the Reds Facebook comments later about maybe he's not dedicated to the team and whatnot. I'm starting to think that he might have been last year. He had a really controversial. It was like a getaway day, Thursday afternoon game where he wasn't in the lineup, and the Reds were in a situation where they kind of like needed his bat, needed some wins at that point, and he got sat. I'm wondering if he was pissed off at David Bell at that point, because he only played, I think, 161 games last year. There's that one game he didn't play, right, and it was a healthy, just kind of, I think he might have came in and pinch hit or pinch run, but like, come on, like this guy is going to play for this team and do everything he can for this team. Just just give him a little break. Like, this is obviously one bad moment, and he's not the first guy to get picked off at second base for sure.
No, by far.
So, all right, transitioning. We got off our soapboxes about the haters for Ellie De La Cruz. We're going to focus on the minor league system. We've got some guys that have had some pretty good outings this week. A guy that has the last 9 appearances for him at AAA, Zach Maxwell, a future closer, potentially, along with Luis May down there at Louisville. He had his last 9 appearances, 0 earned runs, 4 walks, and 11 strikeouts. So, like, he is definitely, like, doing well. Also, shout out Chase Petty. He had a 8 strikeout, 6 inning outing for a win. I think gave up 1 earned run this week as well. So hopefully he can get back on track and back up to the Major League Ball Club sooner than later. I feel like we got some breaking news from Ricky here.
I was looking. I was trying to find it. I was like, what's he talking about?
Oh, I just clicked off of it. Hey, Nick Kroll was wrong. He is ready.
Well, I'm sure somebody's got his stats. If you don't, I have the stats here in front of me. So
go ahead.
Chase Burns yesterday pitched, because there was a doubleheader yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. So before somebody yells at me, a 7-inning complete game. Yes, he pitched a 7-inning complete game shutout yesterday. No walks, 6 strikeouts. And if that's not impressive enough for you in Double-A Chattanooga, his overall record is 6-1 with a 1.29 ERA. And here we go. You ready for this stat?
Yeah.
Ks and walks. 4 walks, 55 Ks in 42 innings.
Love to see that. Yeah. That's Screwball type numbers.
Yes. Now, Ricky and I had this discussion, and I heard you say it earlier. I didn't argue with you, but I'm going to now. Chase Burns does not need to come up this year. We don't need him unless we trade Martinez and Lodolo both. We don't need him. Leave him in Louisville. Let him get his confidence up, kind of like the opposite, like we're talking about Matt McLean, right? Let him get his confidence up. Let him put his numbers up. And then you challenge him in spring training. If I'm the Reds, I challenge him in spring training. Hey, we've got a spot for you ready on the opening day roster for 2026-27. If you can perform well for the rest of your time in Louisville and you show us something in spring training, you're on the team. That's all you got to do. And challenge him.
Yeah, for sure. I still think he comes up this year just as a September call-up, and if they're close, just to have his arm either coming out of the bullpen possibly, if, like a starter doesn't go 5 innings or something like that, or just as a spot starter, because I'm sure there's going to be guys that get IL stints here and there. Unfortunately, Rhett Lauder doesn't look like he's going to be in the cards with a 60-day IL, just named to that just recently, so yeah, that kind of stinks.
It's backdated, though. I don't know if you know, but it's backdated. He can come off that 60-day IL in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but we'd like to think that he is on his way up. He didn't look good, at least the last couple starts. Like, he didn't look good even, I think it was the Dayton start that he got that injury. It was at least not it wasn't his arm or anything like that. I think it was his back or something that pulled. But we have another starter that's now had a groin injury, and now he's starting to have lower back injuries. So you know what I mean? Like, these guys, obviously are throwing harder than ever. So any little thing could set them back. So I guess I'm trying to lower the expectations for Lauder and basically, not put too much pressure on him to rush back, because we've got Chase Burns right here. Like, he seems to be dealing. So, like, I don't know, talk about riding the hot hand. I know he's, not a established veteran. He's no Max Scherzer, but he's got obviously the arm talent, and he seems to have the stuff, the goods to strike out guys, to get whiffs. And that's kind of what you have to do at Great American Ballpark. You either got to be like a ground ball pitcher, not give up a lot of fly balls and whatnot, or you got to get those strikeouts. And he seems to fit that kind of mold. So I would not be surprised if he's just a September call up, just to get a little sneak preview, much like Lauder. They seem to be on the same track as Lauder was in 2024. So I don't know. I mean, ride that hot hand, I say, until he basically takes you to the playoffs. Fingers crossed is basically it. Get that big bat, get Chase Burns. That's basically like a trade deadline acquisition in a way to get a guy that's. I mean, he's pitched 4 years of college, right? So he's like 22. He's not no 18, 19-year-old straight out of high school or whatnot, in just a couple of years of the minors. Like he's I think ready to go, at least from what I've seen. Obviously, again, we've also talked about the big jump from AAA to the majors, but I think there's also another caveat to this as well. Ricky and I learned that they use a different ball, like an experimental ball in AA all the way up to AA, and then they use the major league ball in AAA. So I guess we'll have to see what Chase Burns looks like at Louisville with a major league ball, throwing a major league ball. Hopefully it's more of the same, love to see that, but definitely would like to see him at least get a couple good starts in and keep that confidence growing.
So I'm looking at Brett Lauder right now. So he's right forearm strain and a left oblique strain. So he's got 2 injuries actually right at the moment. He was put on the 60-day IL, and it was retroactive back to March 24th. So technically he can already come off the IL, but he's not going to yet.
Okay. Well, Godspeed to him. Hopefully he gets back sooner than later, because definitely, if anything, we've got arms. And if anything, if we are looking to get into that big bopper trade market, I don't know. I'm not, married to Rhett Lauder being a Red for the rest of his career either. So maybe he's a trade asset potentially as well if somebody needs a young electric arm. But yeah, to round out the top 3, we got Sammy Stafura at Daytona. He had a pretty decent week, almost hit for the cycle, I think Thursday or Friday. He was just a home run short. He had a single, double, and a triple, and 4 RBIs this week, hitting 6 for 19. He's a guy, a shortstop for the future as well, another shortstop for the future that the Reds have. But he's been playing pretty well at Daytona. I don't know if he's got any promotion plans, potentially going up to Dayton soon, but he's one that we like, me and Ricky like definitely. And hopefully, he can progress through the system and do well, do some big things later. But and then shout out to the ACL Reds. Sheng-En Lin had a 3-inning stint where he gave up 1 run and 3 strikeouts. Our unicorn down there at the ACL Reds, doing some big things, pitching and hitting. So, any other thoughts about any of these guys that we've mentioned, Mike?
Well, I'm gonna give some positive updates here.
Okay.
As I was looking through some stuff, getting ready for this. I don't know if you guys know, right-handed pitcher Carson Spires threw off the mound for the first time 2 days ago here at Goodyear. So I may have to try to sneak over and see him. That's obviously good news for us. The other big good news, Austin Hayes is now out of his walking boot now, and he's running in a pool, so he's getting closer. I think you mentioned something like that at the beginning of the show. And one of the guys that I am really, really excited about, Cam Collier, began a stint in High A Dayton on June 3rd. So he is back. He is doing baseball things. And last but not least, shout out to Tyler Callahan and his wife, as they had a baby yesterday, if you didn't know that. So I wanted to throw all those things out there about our Cincinnati Reds.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, but fortunately, Tyler Callahan has some time off now, and we'll be able to spend it with his child, which is good, especially that first year of bonding for sure. That'd be nice. Some little.
If you go to @643 and out pod, there's a picture of him and his baby there. And not that I'm doing any shameless plugs or anything, but you can see the picture over there.
Nice. Yep. That's great. And now we'll move on to 3 down, 3 guys that have not been performing too well this week. Just to round this out, we got our AAA guy, Aaron Wilkinson. Shout out to the 36-year-olds out there. They're still doing it out there, even at AAA. But he did not have a great outing, unfortunately. He only went 3 2/3 innings, 10 hits, 9 earned runs, gave up 3 homers. So hopefully he can bounce back after that, and we can profile him on the 3-up down the road. Hector Rodriguez had a rough week. He only went 2 for 20 this week, and is hitting 148 in the month of June. June's not that long, obviously only in the 8th day, but he's just struggling just to start this month. And we were kind of thinking he was angling or getting there for a promotion soon, but maybe he needs a couple more weeks or whatnot to kind of get himself, I don't know, AAA ready to say the least. But and then Luke Hayden had his worst outing as a Dayton Dragon. He only went 3 2/3 innings, gave up 3 earned runs in the loss. His ERA is still great. He's 1-1 in the season and 2.70 ERA. So he's definitely a guy that we like to profile. And Simonowski is the higher heralded prospect, but we're big Luke Hayden fans here. And shout out to the Dayton Dragons. They're 25th season, so they've been doing all sorts of different promotions, stuff like that. They're my hometown team more or less because I'm closer to Dayton than I am Cincinnati. But yeah, shout out to the Dayton Dragons for that. But yeah, any thoughts on these guys, Mike?
I try not to pay attention to the negatives, sir. Let me give you. I tell you what, though. Let me give you a couple more positives. If you put up Ricky's comment there, he's right. In the picture that I have over on at 643 and out, Tyler is not in a cast anymore. You can clearly see his arm is out of the cast in the picture with him holding his child. So that's fantastic. Yeah, awesome. I wanted to say that, and I didn't do this earlier. This is completely mine. So I'm backtracking a little bit, and I apologize. My minor league player of the week is going to be Rhys Hines because he hit his 9th home run today at Louisville in right field. In only 46 games, he's hit 9 home runs. I think all of us are on this bandwagon of he needs to be up here instead of Joe or Hampson. So I won't beat that into the ground too much. But after he hit his home run, in his next at bat, he was hit in the same place in the leg twice, 2 successive pitches. He went down both times. The trainer came out, he gets back up, he walks around a little bit, he continues the at bat. Second time he gets hit, same thing, goes down. The trainer comes out. Oh my gosh. And I'm looking and watching it, and I'm like, oh, this is bad. This is bad. He got back up, he finished the at bat. He gets called out on strikes. And I'm like, oh, you finished the at bat to get called out on strikes. And he taps his head and challenges and won and got to walk to first base. So, I know we all love the home runs. We love the power and everything else. But, man, what I saw today out of Rhys Hines in that second at-bat where he stood in that batter's box and took all that and then had enough guts to challenge the play. Now, I will have to put a little bit of a caveat to the end of it. He got to first base. He then went to second on another hit, and then they ended up coming out and looking at him again, and they took him out of the game. So we'll have to watch that and make sure Rhys Hines isn't hurt. But, man, what he did today, hitting that home run, which actually tied the game at that point, and then sticking in that bat, man, daggone it. I've got a newfound respect for Rhys Hines, and I hope he gets it back up to the big leagues sooner rather than later. Oh, yeah, for sure. We definitely need big boppers, and if we're not going to spend money on guys, we might as well use the guys that we have. Obviously, strikeout rates are not great. But, you know what I mean? Like this, I don't know what to call this era because it's not the steroid era anymore. It's not the Moneyball era anymore. It seems like it's the strikeout or home run era. They're starting to try to get away from that a little bit. But, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting era that we're in right now where there's another scoreboard stumper that we have, I think, somewhere that last year there was only 4 guys that had more walks than strikeouts that played at least 115 games. So, like, 4 guys in all of Major League Baseball, right? So that's like point something percent of all, like, qualified players. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. That's just kind of what baseball is right now. Guys are throwing hard. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you. I thought I was going to sneak it in there. But Rhys Hines does have a 50% strikeout rate in Louisville right now. So we have to – and he's only walked, I believe, 4 times. So if you look at it, he has walked as many times as Chase – Burns has allowed walks in all of his innings. So there's not everything is positive for Rhys Hines, but I think there's enough that we need to see what we've got. Yeah, for sure. And we'll look now to the upcoming series and week, and we got some comments as well that we can address. CES has been showing up, and it's been good to see what William Wright's talking about. He's shown up and he's hit well. I think like all of the hits, or at least all the extra base hits that CES hit this weekend were all over like 107 miles per hour off the bat, as you love to see that. I'm not a huge StatCast guy, but
that just tells me he's hitting the ball well. He's seeing the ball well, hitting the barrel. And, obviously the results are there where he's getting extra base hits and home runs. Even some that are like outside the zone where he's just like kind of just flapping at it, but has that enough strength in his, his left hand to get it out the ballpark. So we love to see that for sure.
I mean, I'll give you another good stat from today's game.
Yeah.
Because I'm of course both teams fans in this series. I'm a huge Diamondbacks guy and a huge Reds guy. So I can tell you, Zach Gallen only gave up 6 hits today in his stint as the starting pitcher.
Wow.
But 3 of them were home runs. So that's what ended up doing him in. And as we've talked about before, I mean, I'll pick up my aluminum bat and hit this horse one more time. We need a guy who can hit home runs. And when we get that guy, we win ball games.
Well,
we being the Reds, by the way.
Yeah, well, William Wright's like, well, Reese Hines get that chance. I mean, this new kid CES they just signed out of AAA, he seems to be the big bopper that you're talking about, Mike. I mean, maybe this Reese Hines guy, maybe they give him a chance and he'll have his magical week again where he inspires the Reds to wins. I don't know. Hopefully sooner than later.
You can't do any worse than Hampson or Connor Joe, sir.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to have to make that decision sooner or later. I'm pretty sure both of those guys, Connor Joe and Hampson, are out of options, so you definitely have to DFA them. So there's going to have to be a big decision one way or another if that is what the front office is going to go with. But who knows? It's Nick Kroll. You never know what's going to happen. But talking about this coming week, we got the Ohio Cup again. Game 1 tomorrow. I think we got Wade Miley on the mound. Old Wade, lefty Miley going against the Guards. The 3-game set. This is the last time we see the Guardians, and it's basically all for the Ohio Cup. If the Reds get one, they win it. If they don't, they have the weird rule where if the Guardians are tied, the series is tied, it goes to whoever won the last series, which would be the Guardians last year. So I don't know. What do you think about that series coming up?
Well, I can give you the entire matchups here. You were 100% right. Wade Miley starts first. I'm worried about this game.
Yeah.
If you go to our YouTube channel, it's the same as our X, which is at the 643 and Out Pod over on YouTube. I also do a thing where I'm now doing thinking outside the batter's box, and I do a few short stints over there on YouTube, and that's one of them I just talked about. I was really upset with Wade Miley coming up and taking a spot from somebody, especially when he said that he wasn't ready, and he knew he wasn't ready, but he was sure ready to sign a contract and get millions. So I didn't like that. I won't dive into him too much, but he has an 18 ERA. He also has a no-hitter in Cleveland too. So I don't know. We can maybe they cancel each other out and something good happens, but he'll be going up against Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz is 3-6 with a 4.02 ERA. So a losing record and not a great ERA. In the second game, our big guy, Andrew Abbott, will be coming up. The guy I hope they sign sometime soon to a nice, healthy, long-term contract. He's 5-1 with a 2.18 ERA, a sparkling start to his career this year after missing a few games. And he'll be going up against, ironically, ex-Diamondback Slade Ciccone, who the Guardians got in the Josh Naylor trade with Arizona. So he is 1-2 with a 4.87 ERA. Again, another pitcher with a losing record and a not great ERA. Then in the third game, Nick Lodolo, who is 4-4 with a 3.21 ERA, will be going up against Logan Allen. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, you guessed it, a losing record at 3-4 and a not so great 4.42 ERA. So those second 2 games, we should be able to come out on top. Yeah. I'm personally worried about the first game.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what we got. I kind of suggested as a joke, maybe not so much a joke, that maybe Wade Miley's an opener, or maybe he just kind of goes 3 innings, a little Brent Suter type action. That might be the maxing out of Wade Miley, especially as you pointed out. He's said himself he's not really ready to go. So maybe they have a situation where they just kind of throw him out there for 2 innings, 3 innings, see where he's at maybe, and then I don't know, make a decision from there to have someone bridge from him to the bullpen. But I don't know. We'll see. The other 2 games, seem to be more favorable for the Redlegs, but you just never know with this team sometimes. You know what I mean? They have a pretty decent offensive outing, on Saturday, and it looked like today was going to be one of those games where they only score 1 or 2, but they had enough today, which was great to see. And maybe, I don't know, maybe this is going to be the coming out party for Matt McLain. Maybe we're going to see some more out of him. Ellie's coming back after his, little stint of going back to Dominican. Maybe he's going to come back with some fervor. But, I don't know. The series that kind of concerns me is Detroit. They are the best team in baseball. They have the best pitcher in baseball. And they seem to be like a team of, I'm going to say destiny, but they've been a bunch of young guys, except for Javi Baez, who's on a big contract, after being let go from the Cubs or trade from the Cubs. They seem to be a team that's a solid playoff team for sure. And if they get 1 out of 3 from Detroit, I'd be happy, especially being in Detroit. So any thoughts on that series?
No, I completely agree with you. I just don't want to get swept.
Yeah.
And I don't want to look good, or I don't want to look bad being swept. I would almost be happy with competitive 1-run loss games, to be honest, because that's just for Reds fans to think that we are as good as the Detroit Tigers are that's not true whatsoever. Detroit's a really, really good team right at the moment. And if you look at what we're doing, I mean, you got Andrew Abbott and Nick Lodolo starting the 2 games, 2 out of the 3 games in Cleveland. So that means, of course, they won't be able to start against Detroit. So you're gonna roll with Brady Singer and Nick Martinez, and I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna get Derek Struble or not. I tried to look it up, but nobody had anything where I could see the rotation or anything going forward. So it's going to be a tough series nonetheless. And if we can get one, that's almost a win for the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, for sure. I think William Wright's been saying that Skubal pitched Friday night against the Cubs, so I think there may be still a chance. Usually they pitch every 5 days, and that may mean he might be pitching the Friday or Saturday game against the Redlegs. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. It doesn't look like Detroit has many probables even in their next series listed from what I'm seeing in the MLB app.
Yeah, I was looking. They don't. But I will give them some credit, and I'll thank them because I believe they took 2 out of 3 from Chicago, so at least they hurt them a little bit for us. So.
Yeah, and shout out to San Diego for beating the Brewers today as well. So thank you to them for helping us out. So, yeah, I don't know. That's the one I say 1 out of 3, just 1 out of 3 in Detroit. Detroit seems to be on a, I can't imagine they're too far ahead because that division's pretty competitive in the AL Central with the Royals and Twins, and kind of the Guards are all in that kind of that range. So I don't know. Hopefully we'll be able to get something off with them. But it's a pretty decent sized ballpark, so maybe this is a Kauffman Park situation where the Reds are going to somehow get some long home run shots in a big ballpark and get the job done. But I don't know. If we can avoid Skubal, that'd be awesome. We'll hopefully not have to see him. Otherwise, it might be a Blake Snell situation where we get no hit like we did last year when he was a Padre. So.
Yeah, just a couple of things I want to throw up here that we've talked about earlier, and I was able to kind of look some stuff up while you were talking. So the Tigers actually have a 7-game lead on the Twins, a team that we will see in the next couple of weeks as well. We got a really rough stretch coming up here. So we will see the Twins at home, I believe, in 2 weeks or so from today. And then they have a 7.5 lead over the Guardians and an 8.5 lead over the Kansas City Royals. The other thing I was able to look up, we talked about earlier, Hampson does not have options, but actually Connor Joe does have options. So maybe the Reds were doing a little bit of a ploy here. I'll give them some credit. Maybe they will replace him and stash him away in AAA and still be able to recall him. He can play first base if someone gets hurt. He can play the outfield. So I don't want him to be a long-term piece, but if he comes up and Ricky's right, just DFA him and be done. But maybe Connor Joe will help us out before it's all said and done. Yeah,
for sure. If they get optioned down, maybe he goes down when Jamer Candelario's ready. Maybe. William Wright saying that they do have this rough stretch. So the Reds go and play the Guardians and the Tigers away, but then they come home and play the Twins. So those are
and the Padres.
Yeah, Padres are at home as well, right? So
you're right. Yes.
Hopefully, it worked well having the West Coast teams come here from a long trip from the West Coast. So maybe that Padres series isn't as daunting, but yeah, going up to Cleveland and Detroit doesn't have me super confident. But hey, I think you've said it on this show and other shows. The Reds seem to play up to their competition and also down to their competition. So maybe we'll get some of that where they play up to the Guardians and to the the Detroit Tigers. But, I don't know. Any other thoughts about these teams or this upcoming week for you, Mike?
This upcoming week, as we've discussed, Cardinals an off day on Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Detroit. But just to give our fans an outlook of what the schedule looks like for the rest of June, are you ready? So they have an off day on Monday, the 16th.
Yeah.
And 17, 18, 19, the Twins are at Great American. Then they go to St. Louis for the weekend stint. Then they go Yankees here for 3 games, an off day, Padres here for 3 games, and then they go to Boston. So that's a little bit of a daunting task. And if that's not bad enough for you, after Boston to go into the 4th of July weekend, they will be in Philadelphia. Not 7 of those 8 teams currently have winning records. The only one that doesn't is Boston. I believe they're either 3 or 4 games under. So it's not like they're the sisters of the poor or anything. They're a pretty good team too. So next little bit's going to be a big stretch for us.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. Well, hopefully it'll play up to that competition and not down to it for sure. I don't know. We'll see what this Redlegs team looks like. Like to see a 3-3 week at the least, but we'll see what we can get. Definitely, I think the mantra is don't get swept either series, or for sure, definitely not the Tiger series. But I don't know. What do you got coming up this week, Mike? You got the show on Tuesday, or any other things going on?
We do have the show on Tuesday. Let me see if I can promote. I got one. Anthony Jocks will be with us. I believe it's how you say his last name. Let me see. I have another guest, maybe. Yes, I will. Cheese. Football with Cheese will be on again this coming Tuesday as well. He is really upset at Mr. Clark. If you go over to his spot on YouTube, Football with Cheese, and take a look at that video, we're going to talk about that more. And he is a big Green Bay Packer guy, which means he's a big Aaron Rodgers guy. And I have a Aaron Rodgers picture on my dartboard over here that I throw stuff at. So I'm not a big Aaron Rodgers guy. So if you want to see a nice clash, then you may want to tune into the 643 and Out guys as we do the Sports Truth this coming Tuesday. It'll be 6 p.m. on our time here on Mountain Standard Time, and it'll be 9 o'clock for those of you in Cincinnati.
All right, that sounds great. It looks like Ricky's going to be at the game. Is this that week? This week, Ricky, or next week? But anyway, we also have a guest.
They're in Cleveland.
Oh, right. Yeah. Hey, I don't know. Ricky gets around. He may have a Cleveland trip for the midweek. I don't know. Anyway, also we'll have Nick Kirby coming on the show, I believe, Wednesday. Chatterbox guy, Chatterbox Reds. Ricky says he'll be there for the Twins game on Tuesday on the ground, boots on the ground to see how the Redlegs look against the Twinkies. But coming up this week, Wednesday, we'll have Chatterbox Reds, Nick Kirby. He was gracious enough to have some time. He's a really busy guy. I guess he does all the post games during the week and does all sorts of other content for Chatterbox Reds. So we were trying to figure out time to get him on, and we found a slot on Wednesday, and hopefully it'll be a good interview. Tune into that. Ricky, do you have any other pregame shows or anything? If anything you want, if you want, you come on to the show if you want. And we got unless.
I don't know. He's pretty ugly. He'll scare people. oh, shoot. Stop it. Warn me next time before you do that, would you?
I tried to warn you, Mike. I said that, hey, if you want.
I just pop in whenever I want.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it is kind of your show. I'm just the guest, so it's fine.
Do you have any shows this week, Ricky?
I think as far as I know, Friday, but they're always kind of hit and miss on who's available and who's not. So I could probably pop in one day here and there.
Yeah, I would say they have you working all the time, every single day that ends in Y.
Hey, now wait a minute. I want to give you guys some props here for a second, okay? So at the 643 and Out guys, right?
Yeah.
So our Twitter is at 643 and Out pod. We follow roughly 6,800 people, right? And so of all of those people, there are people doing all kinds of stuff live on Twitter right now, but nobody's doing it as well as you guys are. So I mean, the first 2 people have well over almost 1,000 followers, right? Or 1,000 listeners right now. So let's just scratch those guys out. but you guys have been fluctuating between 4th and 5th for the entire time we've been on today. So, man, I want to give you guys your props. You guys are doing really well. You're really beginning to get an audience put together, and it's because of the two of you. It's certainly not because of me. So I want to shout out to Red Hot Reds and get everybody who might be following them because they're looking at me and going, oh, that guy's halfway decent. But these guys right here, these guys are fantastic. So you guys need to follow Red Hot Reds every Sunday and every Wednesday.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate the kind words. And yeah, we're going to try to do our best, get the audience out there. I think we do better when the Reds do better. So this week should be a good week. Hopefully we get some good wins this week as well on the road. Road Warriors, hopefully, for the Reds this week. But if anything, if you guys got nothing else, let's go one last time. Go Reds.
Go Reds.
Go Reds.